Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, let's get this show on the road. So we've got Josh from Celo. He's a developer relations manager. We got Alex from ARI Coin, and we got Mike Cale joining us from Celo. So we'll start with you, Josh. Give us a quick rundown of sort of your role and sort of your history in Celo.
Yeah, so I'm doing developer relations with the Celo Foundation. So primarily I'm just helping developers understand the Celo stack, build stuff, or integrate. So I see like the two pillars of my job are primarily just education for developers and then also community building. So hosting events for public and also joining other people's communities and just like sharing my views on Celo. So I've been working with C Labs and the Celo Foundation for just over 2 years. So I joined right before mainnet launch. And before that I was working at Consensus on Ethereum, a developer bootcamp. So just like training devs on the Web3 stack, specifically like EVM and Ethereum chain. So that's me.
And Ari, tell us your history with Alex, tell us your history about ARI Coin.
Oh, thank you. So ARI is an NFT marketplace built on Celo. We're a Celo native marketplace. Our primary focus is on tokenizing physical assets and creating an environment where it's connecting the physical and digital worlds together. We're also integrating ERC 1155 standard, and we're also working with the several of our partners throughout the Celo ecosystem to collateralize NFTs, and also focused on bringing some good utility cases and access points to NFTs and the ecosystem. One of our big things that we're also focused on is kind of looking at Web3, but bringing a Web2 feel and thought process to Web3, where it kind of really connects the dots for everyone. And it kind of creates that seamless experience where someone can just snap a picture and put it on and mint it and create that process and make it as easy as possible. The way I like to explain it to everyone is very simple. My mom is able to go in and load up on boxes from Amazon on a weekly basis here in the U.S. in our house. I want her to be able to load up on NFTs with that same sense of ease and facility, and that's kind of what we're building on the Celo ecosystem. We're also working on connecting the capabilities to create the environment where you could just use the user on the front end is using fiat, but in the back end, it's converting it to the cryptocurrency, still utilizing the blockchain and kind of transferring and transacting in that manner. So those non-Web3, non-crypto, non-blockchain folks would be able to use it and understand it and just make it easier where there's more adaptation and there's more utilization. And we're bringing in a whole new breed of customers. So that's a little bit about us and what we're doing. And again, thank you for hosting this. Pretty awesome. So appreciate it.
Thank you. And Mike Cale, you want to give us a quick run through of your history and what you're doing?
Definitely happy to share. Mine's a lot simpler here. So my name's Cale. I'm the community manager at GoodGhosting right now. It's a DeFi social savings game protocol. Originally it launched on Polygon last August or so. I've been a heavy hardcore Polygon power user since February.
Hello?
Just haven't been able to turn away from it. And so ever since I found out about Polygon, I've been paying attention over there, which led me to GoodGhosting. GoodGhosting introduced me to Celo. And so ever since I've been involved with Celo now about since September of last year, and I've been very, very impressed with the ecosystem. It feels like Polygon all over again, so it's been very interesting to watch their development growth.
Awesome. All right, let's get into the bones of it. I guess this is directed at Josh. Can you give us a brief overview of the chain and why the tech is important?
Yeah, happy to. So Celo is running the EVM. Obviously, I know you guys are focusing on those chains now, but there's some core differences between Celo and other EVM chains. I guess similar to others, Celo is running proof of stake. We do have on-chain governance. One thing that Celo pioneered in the white paper, which I think was originally published in 2017, was this design for stablecoins that are algorithmic stablecoins. And this is like a core part of our protocol. So we have a suite of stablecoins right now, and this is pretty easy to expand. So we have Celo dollars, Celo euro, and Celo real, the Brazil native currency. And there are some proposals in our forum right now to add the Colombian peso, the Filipino peso, and I think the Indian rupee as well. So we have an on-chain reserve, like the collateral for all of our stablecoins, and this reserve can be used to back like currencies from all over the world. We just need to set up the Oracle services to be able to mint these tokens. So that's like a pretty big piece. A lot of this reserve management is done through on-chain governance. So we do have a suite of protocol contracts that allow people in the community to submit governance proposals, and then go through and vote on those. In addition to this, like the reason we developed the protocol stablecoins in the first place was just to increase the usability. There's crypto has a notoriously bad user experience. And when the founders were initially doing research on whether to build on ETH or create a new chain, just the ideas of like having to pay gas fees in a currency other than what you're transacting in was like a big hurdle for people, particularly in like the global south, people that are primarily accessing the internet through mobile devices that don't have access to financial services. This is like a whole new domain, a whole bunch of stuff to learn. Not even those people, but just everybody. So part of this protocol stablecoin piece is being able to pay transaction fees in these stablecoins. We can actually, through on-chain governance, have any token be accepted for transaction fees, but we're focusing on these stablecoins first because payments is a huge use case that's still there's still a lot of opportunity here. I think the most compelling piece of the protocol that's different than any other EVM chain is this lightweight identity layer that we have. It allows us to map phone numbers to addresses on our network. So that means that I can essentially text people Celo assets directly to their phone numbers. I don't have to manage these hexadecimal 40-character indecipherable strings that nobody can remember. You can just text people money to their phone numbers, even if they're not on the network. So I can text anybody here. If you give me your phone number, I could text you Celo dollars. And then when you register your phone number on the network, you will have a Celo dollar balance in your account. And then you can actually transfer that because you can pay transaction fees in Celo dollars. So the idea is like this is huge for mobile accessibility, but also just like onboarding new people to crypto. This is huge because it's a very intuitive experience for a lot of people that have similar services. Like in the US, we have Venmo, which is essentially texting people money. You can get a similar experience to Venmo, but it's running on blockchain rails, so it's actually a global payments network, whereas like Venmo is very like US focused or North America focused. So that's just a quick overview of some of the cool things that I like about Celo.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's great because there's a lot of developing countries where people have phones and no computers, and it really goes hand in hand, that sort of accessibility. Speaking of accessibility, what are the current bridging options available on Celo?
Right now, the main one that I've used is the Optics bridge. You can visit it at optics.app. A team at C Labs incubated this design. It's kind of like uses an optimistic design. I think there are some like more centralized bridging options as well, but Optics is the main one, and there are others coming. I think I don't think any have been announced, but I think there's actually a big opportunity because I know you guys are focused on bridging. So Optics is the main one, but yeah.
On that front, are there any sort of funding or grants available for developers that say want to create bridges or other protocols that may solve key issues?
Yes. I'm going to drop a link in the questions channel right now. But if you just go to celoecosystem.com/grants, there's a whole bunch of information about the grants we've issued, what we're looking for in terms of grants, and links to apply for grants. But we do issue a lot of grants, so it's a great way to like kind of kickstart a project. And just a note on grants, like grants are not investments, so we don't typically like to help people start companies necessarily, like where you're going to be making a profit. That's more for like Flory Ventures or like other funding opportunities in the Celo ecosystem. Grants are definitely more focused on public goods. Like bridging is definitely a public good where there may not necessarily be a business model or financial incentive to run these, but it's definitely something that the community needs that's beneficial for everybody. But even if you go through the grants page and you start getting information, if your project isn't perfectly aligned with grants, we will help find the appropriate funding mechanisms. We try to give as much support to developers and people building stuff as possible.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I could just chime into that real quick to add to Josh's point. It's a pretty incredible experience working with the Celo Foundation and communicating with them. But to his point, yes, it is not for getting funding for startups. It's essentially for creating something that fits a need within the Celo ecosystem, and kind of working together with them and looking at bridging. I think that's a great opportunity there. Even though Celo has optics, but there's still so much opportunity. And again, if you have questions, I know in the Celo Discord, in their grants channel, they're very great to reply. They're responsive. They make sure they communicate effectively with the creators, and so just something to always check out. It's an incredible thing that they do there in Celo.
Awesome. So now we'll jump to the performance of the chain. Like what sort of things we should expect with sort of RPCs, transaction costs, anything of note?
Yeah, so transaction costs for like standard transfers are fractions of a cent right now. They're very low. So as Celo being proof of stake, we can have like higher transaction throughput than some other, than Ethereum specifically. I'm not sure what the metrics are on other like EVM chains exactly. But yeah, it's a huge goal for just like making our chain accessible and usable by people to keep transaction fees. Like I think the target is below 1/10 of a cent for like standard transfers. It's definitely below that right now. RPCs, I'm going to pull up a page of the docs actually. I'll share another link in the chat. But we have a whole number of like RPC, like hosted nodes, like endpoints where you can access the blockchain. So like reading state or sending transactions through. We have a service called Forno, which is similar to Infura. It's just like open to the public. You actually don't even need an API key to access it. I don't recommend Forno for like production grade services because it is like a public good, and there's no like SLAs or anything. So it does go down occasionally, but there are like more robust endpoints that are serving RPC endpoints in various networks. So like Anchor is a really good one. I know their latency is super low and their uptime is great. Also Figment Data Hub and QuickNode support Celo as well. So there's a number of options there. I'll drop the link to the docs page that has this stuff. But yeah, there's a number of options that make it easy for devs to connect to the network. I don't know if you have other specific questions around transaction costs or RPC endpoints or anything else.
No, that's pretty good. As we are approaching our snapshot and choosing our next chain to launch on, Why do you think we should vote for Celo over the other chains that we have available?
Yeah, I think the thing that really stands out among Celo like isn't necessarily the technical specifics, but like if you just go to celo.org, you'll see it's like we're a very mission-oriented community. Celo was initially founded, so like the stated mission is to create a financial system that creates the conditions of prosperity for everyone. And the thesis is like bringing financial services to people is a great way to encourage prosperity. Because with blockchain, it's actually pretty easy to like provide not just like money, access to money for folks, but like additional financial services in terms of like borrowing and lending markets, like getting loans or like giving people loans. That's actually hugely important for like helping people find prosperity or create prosperity. So a lot of what we do is focused around this. An extension of this is being like an environmentally like conscious, sustainable chain. So Celo is actually carbon negative, and we have a portion of our block rewards are actually buying carbon offsets every block. We're actually offsetting more carbon than we're creating by running our blockchain. And I think it's in the white paper. There's this goal of adding like natural resource like assets, digital assets, to our reserve. So our stable currencies are actually backed by natural capital-backed assets. And some of the thinking around this comes from the like social philosopher Charles Eisenstein. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, or he wrote this book called Sacred Economics. But he has this insight in this book that talks about whatever is backing the money that we create, we tend to create more of that. So when we have gold backing our money, we go dig giant holes in the ground and extract it and then put it into other holes in the ground, right? We put it in vaults, even if it kind of makes no sense. Currently, most of our money is backed by debt. So there's a massive amount of debt in the world. And as we create more money in the world, we're just creating more debt. So what would the world look like if we backed our money with things that we actually wanted to see more of? What kind of world would we create then? The idea is like if we create digital assets that are metrics of environmental health, like clean air, clean water, preserving the rainforest, things like that. If we can actually figure out a way to create NFTs of those, and we can create markets for those assets on blockchains, we can put those in a digital reserve and use those assets to back our currencies. And then we'll actually have massive incentive to create more clean rivers, more clean air, preserve the rainforest, whatever we can measure. So this is like a core part of Celo's mission. And it's very ambitious. It's like very technically difficult to do these things, but like this is what we're working towards. This is what a lot of projects launching on Celo are working towards. During our recent conference in Barcelona last month, there were a lot of refi projects that came, and they're really just like choosing Celo because of this collective mission. And if we can get a critical mass of these projects building together on this layer one, the potential is huge. So I'm not going to show like the technical benefits. I'm going to share why people are joining the Celo community, and if these values resonate with you, I suggest considering this and digging a little deeper into Celo. So,
yeah, that's great. I think as we move further away from sort of the top 10 chains, a lot of them are considering these social and environmental factors more. I know like when we moved to Harmony, like they're really big on community and trying to do this sort of stuff. So it's nice to see it further down the line as well. What are the top protocols, and like what sort of protocols are they in Celo?
Yeah, the main ones that I'm aware of, the DeFi ones specifically, like Ube Swap is our DEX fork of Uniswap. Mobius is another DEX stablecoin swap. GoodGhosting is a great one for like incentivized savings game. ARI SWAP and Tofu NFT are some NFT marketplaces. More on like the impact side. Impact Market is a huge one. They're actually probably one of the most popular projects on Celo. They're essentially running UBI programs for like low income communities around the world. This pretty cool like decentralized game way where people are receiving less than $1 per day, but like that's a meaningful amount of money when there's no other opportunities. Also, Resource Network. It's a mutual credit protocol, so think something along the lines of community currency that people can or businesses can self-issue. They just launched in Austin, Texas, I think this year. But like, yeah, those are a handful. And Alex or Caleb, feel free to jump in with things.
Yeah, I think I think you pretty much hammered on a lot of them. And to your point, Impact Market is just incredible. And you talk about being mission aligned. Impact Market definitely focuses on that. And just to go back to the point before, as far as like why Celo, as far as the non-technical side of it, and exactly what Josh said. It's about the mission and how mission aligned the community is. And we entered Celo, Ari entered Celo in June of last year. And since entering, it's just been an incredible experience. Being able to openly communicate with Merrick and with Renee and the Celo Foundation, and then openly communicating with other protocols in the ecosystem, such as Swap and Impact Market, and to the point of creating such an incredible collaborative environment where you see NFT marketplaces not competing with each other, but instead collaborating with each other and kind of seeing what spaces each one focused on. So we kind of create that sense of how do we work together one another to help build the entire ecosystem and work on that conditions of prosperity, and then involved in a lot of great community things. There's some great involvement going on right now with Africa, with African Blockchain University. He mentioned about the stable coins and what an incredible thing it is. We're working with someone out in Peru, and he's in communication with folks in the Celo Foundation. He's working with us and Ari as far as creating this incredible art project out there. But then also working with Celo to be an ambassador of the Celo Foundation there in Peru, which is an amazing thing to see. Just how everything comes full circle as far as the blockchain is concerned. And when we were trying to explore what blockchain we were going to launch in, we spoke with other blockchains, and we kind of went into their communities and their environments. And I just got to say, my hat goes off to the team at Celo, but for the entire Celo community, all the protocols that are launched, it's an amazing experience to be a part of it.
Awesome, man. Like, just to give some sort of insight into how I got onto you guys, to our community. I sort of went fishing in the Celo Foundation page, seeing if there was anyone that was interested in a bridge and like wanted to chat. And I think, is it C-Real? Now that I realize that it's maybe a Brazilian dude, he invited me to the Celo Whales group. Not necessarily like whales by TVL, more like whales by ideas and community. And I was just welcomed in, and I'm just there like telling them like, we're a community bridge. We want people to own it rather than pay the tolls. And like, you guys just laugh.
Create this collective of creating prosperity, and and that's really why Real created that Discord with that focus. And so I'm glad you got to see it, and I'm glad you invited us on this call too. I think it's amazing to hear what you're all doing and kind of who we are at Celo.
And I don't want to leave Cale out, so I want to bring you in.
So just from a different kind of perspective too, is because GoodGhosting is Polygon native and launched over there a couple of months ahead of Celo, and so it kind of sniffed Celo out. But these numbers don't lie. Like we've done really good on Polygon, but we've done great on Celo. And Celo has like 300 dApps quoted compared to 16,000 is what Polygon's at. Polygon's got the user base, the daily user base that just crushes a lot of things. And yet our adoption and efficiency inside of Celo has just been astonishing. And I continue to be impressed. And so I feel like there's a genuine hunger for real use case DeFi and crypto adoption within those few individuals that are currently on Celo. And so growing up around this core of essentially like utility-based purity and a lot like to what Josh is saying, that there seems to be a mission from the foundation down. It's showing its value. There's a culture here that's a little bit different than a lot of the other chains that I tend to explore.
Well, yeah, like talking from sort of our view, where like we don't want to be like VC, we don't want to be involved in that stuff. We want people to own the bridge, like I said. And utility first, it might not always be about crypto. Like our general channel is mainly us like talking a lot of crap, having a lot of fun. Like to give you an example, like we had a call at 1 a.m. my time here, and then a call about 4:15, and we were just like playing music and just having fun. And that's kind of what crypto's about. Like the money comes secondary if everyone's having fun.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we succeed because we take a fundamental good, so Moolah, you know, on Celo or Aave on Polygon, so just fundamental DeFi, and just by throwing a tiny little element of social gamification on top of it, it just makes it that much more appealing. And so people enjoy crypto, but they want to connect, and so there's something going on Celo for sure.
All right, now I think Ari mainly hit all the points when he was talking about building on the chain and why he wouldn't build anywhere else. Sort of from your experience, Michaelium, as a community manager, how have you found it?
Oh, way more active than usual. Polygon is my natural comparative, and I love it, and it's my primary home, but it's a little bit like Home Depot or Walmart at this stage. It feels so large that there's a level of disconnect now amongst the user base. There's so many operating cells within Polygon now that there are plenty of blind spots happening there that I have no interaction with or understanding of. And with Celo, it's nice again to feel like you live back kind of in a small neighborhood because you know everybody. I know Alex, I know Josh. I've talked with these guys privately. I'm going to talk with them again in the future. I enjoy knowing like the ecosystem's scope and size and being able to watch the whole thing grow up. And it's really a cooperative element across the table opposed to a competitive one. And so, and the community management side's kind of like a walk in the park. It's been really a fun and enjoyable post to be growing within Celo right now because it happens naturally.
And in terms of like, I'm sure we've all experienced it coming from some of the bigger chains and Ponzi protocols, like experiencing like toxic discords. Like I assume that's pretty non-existent over at Celo.
Yeah, definitely. It's not something I run into yet. The closest thing you'll run into right now in Celo is some lightweight discords, and so not a lot of depth, maybe not a lot of daily engagement or activity. You know, a lot of teams are in building and have yet to develop the full infrastructure to manage community development in depth. And what you do see that I do like is a lot of overlap too. Real is not alone in Celo Wells. He's in other places as well, and continue to see a lot of the same friendly faces in a lot of different places, which at this stage comforts me. It seems like the right people in the right spots is what I like to see at this time.
All right. So I think that sort of finishes off the questions I had. Is there anything you guys want to add? And before I open up the floor, we've got sort of 20 minutes before we have our next Treasury AMA. So I'm happy to open up the floor if you guys want, and we can have some questions.
Two interactions that I'll have there just real quick is that Uniswap did just get approved to come over to Celo as well. So that's another nice thing that's happening over there. And then just in terms of like a gas comparison, I was doing some fee math earlier. And Celo right now, I think, is absolutely closest to probably Harmony. Harmony operates very similar in terms of fee cost and transaction speed. It feels very fast right now on Celo. Everything happens almost instantaneously. There's no needed GUI adjustments or any kind of gas management, and you're oftentimes below 1 cent proper.
All right. Does anyone in the crowd have a question? No questions?
I think that means we did a really good job here.
Everyone's thinking about the future. Maybe Dev Atlas might have a question, I think. Maybe a question's being forced upon him.
I got a question.
Go for it.
So you guys at Celo, if you wanted people to think of Celo and think of like one thing, what would that be? Like, you think of Ethereum, you think expensive gas. At least I do. Smart contracts and expensive gas. What is something that people should think of when they think of Celo?
So my snapshot answer, honestly, is like accessibility. I dangerously get close to the term low income, but I really like the concept of the DeFi for all kind of an idea, and DeFi for the people kind of an idea. And when I think about Celo, I think about the users, the people.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Accessibility, primarily that lightweight identity layer is like really key, cool technology that literally doesn't exist anywhere else. It's like being able to abstract away account addresses, being able to integrate with like your address book in your phone. If you guys haven't checked out the Valora app, that's like the main mobile wallet for Celo. But it allows you to like register your phone number on the network, and then connect with your contact list and send money to folks. So it's like really designed for just like mobile only usability, just to like increase that access.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, true to the core. And I think it's exactly what they're saying, right? It's mobile first, and it's true to the mission. And so a lot of people talk the talk, but then their actions don't align with what the mission actually is. With Celo, it's the actions speak louder than what they say the mission is. So I would say it's true to the core.
And building off the phone number piece, I see there's a question in the chat about protections in place for SIM hijacking. And I get this question a lot because, yeah, when you're dealing with phone numbers, like phone numbers are not actually super secure. But there are protections for SIM jacking. So on the Celo network, your account, like your balances, are always controlled by a private key. So if you get SIM jacked, your private keys are not lost. An attacker does not get your private keys. All they get control of is your phone number. So the way this is set up is it's literally a mapping of phone numbers to accounts, and accounts are what are always controlling accounts. So when I'm texting money to my brother, what's happening is it's doing a lookup for the current address that's associated with his phone number, and then it's sending money to that account that's associated. So what a simjacker could do is take your phone number and then re-register an account with your phone number to an account that they control. So then if somebody tries to send you money to your phone number, it's actually going to go to that attacker's account instead of the intentional recipient's account. But the prevention we have there is it doesn't actually deregister the previous phone number registration. So essentially now there would be 2 accounts associated with one phone number. And if there's ever multiple accounts associated with a phone number, the person sending money is prompted to say like, oh, there's multiple accounts associated here. Which one would you like to send to? So if that happens, then presumably you'll reach out to the person you're trying to send money to, and say, hey, I see you have multiple accounts registered. Which one do you want me to send to? And like my brother would say, the account that he controls, obviously, and not the one that the attacker controls. So yeah, there are like potential risks there. I haven't heard of anybody like this happening to anybody. And yeah, funds are never actually at risk with an attack like this. But it is a great question.
All right. Has anyone else got any more questions? I feel like this is great because it's allowed us to actually hear you guys say it in person rather than hearing all the typing going on in the Discord. So hearing the passion in people's voices is really important, I think.
There's an ASMR pitch to it for sure.
All right. Well, if that's it, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Alex, Josh, and Cale. It's been great.
I actually might have a question. Sorry, I was trying to get unmuted here.
You're right.
So I live in kind of a farm community, and I kind of been running through ideas of how do we get like, I don't know, maybe farm communities onto the blockchain and stuff. And it sounds like this project is like pretty much it. But I mean, kind of like in terms of maybe a farm community, is there like, I don't know, it sounds like maybe there's some synergy or correlation of where like the project can help something like that in real life application.
That's I love that question. I know Josh probably is going to say something too, but you know, if you look at some of the protocols that are coming onto Celo, one that jumps out is Ethic Hub. Even though they focused mainly on cultivating coffee beans and coffee, there's also other protocols. There's one specifically in Mexico right now that deals specifically only with Mexican farmers. And so kind of like thinking of what you're saying as far as, you know, what are some of the things that you could look at? And I look at a lot of the protocols that are currently in Celo, kind of working on a lot of different things in the sense of how do we focus on specific communities. And a beautiful thing that someone shared is, you know, Celo's focused on the refi and that prosperity for all. And there's projects that are focused on really looking at communities and kind of keeping identity, and meaning, you know, your cultural identity and who you are as a human being and as a community, what you represent, intact, and really focused on driving that aspect of it. And a lot of new NFT projects are actually popping up that are going to be launching within the next few weeks in the Celo ecosystem, focused specifically around farming, farmers, and farming communities. And hopefully, you know, it kind of makes sense what I'm saying, but they're kind of creating a staking mechanism where you can actually stake into a farm industry, whether it's like corn or whether you're staking on soy or green beans or what it may be, and then you're earning a share of the revenue generated from that farm from the staking of the NFT. So some cool stuff coming. I don't want to share too much, but there's definitely a lot of things that are working for synergies as far as really focus on farmers. So just a few things I wanted to share.
Hey guys, this is Hash Buddha from Printer Financial. So nice to have you here. Sorry, Otis, I saw you were unmuting. You want to say something?
Oh no, I was gonna say that just thanks to the answer. That is perfect answer, and answer it perfectly.
So
I will just add to that I didn't really hear a question in your initial statement, I guess, about how to help farming communities. I would say just like in my experience helping developers, like really like honing in on a specific problem that people are having is really helpful for building a successful project. Because if you kind of have an idea of like, oh, how can this technology help me? It's kind of like a hammer looking for a nail, as opposed to having a specific problem that like blockchain can actually help solve. So I'm not saying that you won't find a problem just like by exploring what the tech makes possible. But getting really specific about a problem you're trying to solve is really helpful for building a successful project.
This is so good to hear. I'm not sure whether you've already seen, but we actually also have a farming channel on our Discord, and we do have a few farmers on the Printer Financial community. So I think generally our values very much align to Celo as well, which I think is amazing.
All right, so I think that's probably going to take us out unless anyone's got any more questions. I think it's been a really good chat, seeing where we do align, and I think from day one, from when I got invited in the group and like people telling me their ideas, I've been telling everyone Celo, Celo, Celo. Even though I do like the idea of Alt L1s, I think community is more important than all of that. So yeah, if anyone has any more questions, this is your last chance. We've got 10 minutes before Hash takes the floor back with some treasury chat. Okay, so that's it for Josh. Let's call it a day. Thank you to everyone. Thanks to Josh, Alex, and Cale. And yeah, we'll be in touch soon. Have a good one.
Have a good day for sure. Thanks,
Enjoy your
guys.
weekend. Bye-bye.